good evening and hello and hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I hope that small moment of awkward silence made you feel a little awkward, because sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Sometimes you're like, it's okay to feel like you're being challenged a little bit. It's cool. It's chill, as you know. I think that's how you say it out on, on the playgrounds. Because I don't hang around playgrounds, which is actually a good thing. Isn't it actually a very, very good thing that I'm out here telling y'all I don't hang around playgrounds? 50-year-old white guy stays away from playgrounds. That's actually good. You can listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show in complete confidence that I am not the kind of weirdo who goes around hanging out, around small children. I feel like it's a good thing. I'm not 50 yet. I'm pushing 50. But yeah, you round up, right? You because Chad is like, you're 50. Like I'm not there yet. I'm pushing it. You round up, right? It's I'm more 50 than I am 45. Let's put it that way. Let's just put it that way. But hey, thank you everyone for joining us here, because it's the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. We're talking about wrestling. We're not just going to talk about, the weirdness of me hanging around, schoolyard situations. No, we are actually going to be talking about professional wrestling here tonight live on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. It is November 11th. 2021. It is Veterans Day in the United States. It is Remembrance Day in Canada and most of the Commonwealth as well. Salutations to everyone who has given their lives in the service of all of our respective countries, for our freedoms, for our right to do what we are doing right now. The ultimate sacrifice in and about itself. So thank you all very much, and I salute you and anyone out there who have family members who are currently in the military. Shout out to everyone. It takes a lot. Yeah, it's a huge, incredible what's the word? Vocation, right? Like it's a calling, essentially. Something that that I respect tremendously, because it's a huge thing to give yourself like that to your country. I respect it tremendously. So shout out to everyone, anyone, and if you are in the military, a doubly shout out to you as well. There you go. Hope you know that at least on this side, on this area here, your service is definitely appreciated and highly, highly respected. Otherwise, but yeah, that's what we're doing here. So we're taking the time here to chill out, talk about pro wrestling, and we're doing it live, like I said, on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, recorded live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. If you ever want to join in, that's cool. Because then you get to hang around equally cool people like Kelly Tonjes, who's here. Nice to see you, Kelly. You got Robert Larry here as well. Nice to see you, Robert. We got Mr. Frats hanging out with us tonight. Nice to see you. We also got 5th generation Carney Joseph with it. How are you? Got Jason PS3. How you doing, Jason? Nice to see you. We also got Justin Firestein who's here. Nice to see you, Justin. Hey, look. Is this Matt Ritter who's here from the Smackin' It Raw podcast? Is this what that is? That I'm confused. I think so. Nice to see you. Smackin' It Raw podcast. Good times, good folks, fun times. DGMC is here as well. Nice to see you, DGMC. Let's see who else we got. We got Carlos who's joining us as well. Mwad Ben. Nice to see you too. And Heather. Look at that, Heather. And William Davis as well. Look, we can talk about a packed house. Right? Fantastic. Thank you all for being here, joining us live. And as Carlos in the chat just said, if you're liking this so far, give the video a thumbs up. Give it a like here on YouTube. YouTube likes that kind of stuff, or at least it likes to know that you guys like this kind of stuff, because then it'll recommend me more, so on and so forth. It's a tiny little thing that you can do that helps out a great deal. So I appreciate it a lot. Whether you're watching live, whether you're listening on demand, thank you. Thank you so much. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, because yes, Mr. Warren Hayes Show is available as audio on your favorite podcast platform, well, you can also leave a like, a subscribe, a review. You can leave a review out there. A nice 5-star review, because I don't hang around playgrounds. All right, I'll stop. I'll stop talking about it, because it is going to start to sound weird. Anything that you could do there as well helps out a great deal. And thank you if you're listening to this on the audio spectrum. I really appreciate it. Hey, Full Gear's this weekend. I already recorded my Full Gear prediction show. It's out there. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on the podcast airwaves. Not the right word. But I recorded it with my old pal, the OG, the homie, Queen of NE. So if you want to get my Full Gear predictions, I'm not going to be going through them tonight. They're already out there. They're already recorded. Hey. That's fantastic stuff. Go check it out. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. I'm really excited that for Full Gear. I think it's going to be a great card. Queen was excited as well, so we got the time to break it down. Check it out. It's on the it's already there on the channel. Hope you guys do take the time to check it out. And also always, per usual, please head on over to belttobells.com, BELLTOBELLES.com, your women's wrestling wire, all there. We've got all our interviews up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/belttobells, Twitter @belttobells. Look, you guys know all of this by now, but just in case, So there we go. Next, so yeah, go check that out. Go check out our Discord. Join the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord. Always a good time there. The live watching of the shows is always fun. It's a Full Gear weekend. If you want to come and join us and watch along, well, we don't actually broadcast it live. Don't get me wrong. We don't broadcast, there's no illegal restreaming happening in the Discord, but everyone sort of hangs around in the Discord. We chat as everything happens. We react. It's a fun time. Link is in the description. If you're watching live, the bot is going to have it pop up at some point. It's great stuff. And what am I forgetting? The Discord? Yeah, you have to join that. Also, I'm doing a post stream tonight, which is what I usually do. I do it for members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel here. So if you want to come, join in. We're going to be talking about Full Gear. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from the members. We're going to be talking about Full Gear. What is the match they're most excited for, the one they're least excited for, and the most important question of all, Kenny Omega or Adam Page? This is what we're going to be talking about tonight. If you want to join in on the conversation, look, we take calls from the Discord, talk live in the chat, right here, on youtube.com, and the live chat in the Discord as well. If you want to become a member, it's a good time. Plus, it's the 100th episode of my post stream. It's the 100th post stream that I do. Pretty happy about it. Why not? It's a good time. It's a good way to show some support. You get all this nice extra content as well. If you become a member, you get the you get the emotes. If you join us live, that's also great. So come on over and join us. Become a member immediately when I'm done with the stream, the main stream here. Head on over and I do that. I don't know why I'm stuttering through my my opening spiel. It's not as if I don't do it every week, right? And you can also show some support via Super Chat. And I will read your question or comment on the air. So, I think we're ready to get into it. Let's get to it then. Let me pull this up here. I just realized that. Hope everyone is having a great Thursday. I'm having a good Thursday. You know what's kicking my ass though? I'm not gonna lie. You know what's kicking my ass? It's the standard the switch back to standard time. Holy hell! Like that's today I'm like, where is my energy? Where is my energy? But as I get closer to getting ready to do the podcast, then everything starts bubbling up and I get excited again. I'm like, let's do this, you know. Then I get really into it. So don't worry about my energy levels; they're fine. But it's like overall, like there's a sort of a listless. Like I feel a little listless, not listness, listless. You know. Anyway, look. Enough about me. And I definitely was not covering up for a little technical snafu here. Here is the weekly wrestling inspection. Okie dokie, everybody. So, as I am wont to do occasionally on the Mr. Warren Hayes show program, I set out a poll when we start the live show, asking the live audience, topics, whatever what I'd like to start with. What would you like me to start talking about tonight? And tonight I was like, look, tonight I have topics on AEW, I have topics on WWE and New Japan. I was like, okay, you guys tell me what you want me to start talking about first, and the number of votes will decide the order in which I will tackle each topic. And we're going to start by AEW. Got 85% of the votes. Then we'll move into New Japan. That got 10%. And WWE will round out the show unless I really go along with the New Japan stuff, because there's a lot of New Japan stuff, which makes me happy. I love when there's some New Japan content to talk about. I think there's a lot of good things. I think there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. But before we move on, Dylan McKenzie, I see you there. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat, as well as AK Germany 96. Let's get right to it. I forgot to open. This is very unprofessional what I'm going to do. Not as if I'm a bastion of professionalism to begin with. You know, it's not as if you should turn to me for all your top-notch professional podcasting techniques. But like I usually have 2 drinks, right? Like, this is well documented, right? Hydration is important. You guys know how I feel about hydration. I always have like just a standard pint of water, and then I have a little something with a little fizz, and I brought myself some La Croix lime water. So, but the thing here is that I haven't opened the can, and I usually open the can before starting. And just as I was starting the podcast, just as I was starting to record live, I knocked over the pint of water. And it spilled like all over myself, my chair, and the floor. So I had to, and I'm talking like minutes before starting. So I had to go off and change. And I'm actually like, this is how quickly I have to change. Look, I've pajama bottoms, which is something I never do. I'm telling you, usually like I'm in jeans, like I have proper pants on. I never do this, but I had to grab the first thing that was like really close, like and I have a towel here on the floor just to make sure that, So I spilled the water. So I ran back. So all of this to say that because I created a disaster like minutes before hitting the live, going live, I didn't crack open the can. Now I'm going to crack open the can And it's something that annoys me when people do this. I'm sorry. And but it's a pet peeve. Honestly, if you, I've said this before, because I've had pals in the past, like the Smart to Death guys, they'd have a beer, they'd crack it open as they say, and that's fine. That's their own thing. But me, the sound of a can going crack, it's not something that's appealing to me. It's a bit of a pet peeve, but that's just me. If this turns you on, or if it gets you worked up, and you're like, makes me thirsty, good, that's fine. It's for me, cracking it open. I don't like it when podcasters do it. Again, that's just me, and it's a tiny pet peeve, and I'm just like, that's all it does. There we go. Some La Croix lime, which I like. Since we're talking about AEW to start with, here I was saying, right, oh, my energy levels are so low. I'm fucking all over the place. All right. Yeah, does anyone have a can cracking fetish? Okay. All right. We're already off the rails here. I haven't even started talking about wrestling. There's a big to-do on Twitter happening as we are coming on the air. There was the and I'm going to talk about it just a little bit. Today was the AEW media call that they do before every pay-per-view, per usual. This time it was Tony Khan who was there, as opposed to Cody. When Tony Khan was there fielding questions, and there was a question that he took from a pal, Ella J, also contributor to Bell to Bells, fine human being. We love ourselves, Ella, and she asked him a question, asking him whether or not AEW was planning on doing a women's event, and she used NWA and Power as a comparison. So, just a very simple question. Now, before she actually finished her question, Tony Khan jumped in and he said, "Look, I'm going to cut you off," and he answered her with a really bizarre question. Answer. I'm sorry. He didn't answer with a question. He answered with an answer. But a bit of a weird response. Where, first of all, where he started saying that he didn't get enough credit for sending his talent. Because, he said he sent Red Velvet, Layla Hirsch, and Kylan King to Empower. And he's like, I didn't get enough credit because I paid for them to be there, which is weird. Don't get me wrong. But he said, basically saying, going off on a thing where he's like, I don't understand why I didn't get more credit for this. I paid for my talent to be there, and wrapped up his comments, his thoughts, then basically coming round the bend to readdress Ella's question, but basically by using the typical AEW deflection answer that they give every time someone asks about the women's division, which is, oh, we're very proud, we're doing strides, we're going forward, we're doing big moves, so on and so forth. Like, always the good thing. Now, I want to make sure, this is what I want to point out here, and this is, it's soapboxy, okay? But it's my podcast. If I can't be soapboxy on my podcast, where the hell am I going to be a soapbox on? Twitter? Now, the fact that my main issue, the main problem I have with the way that he responded, and is the fact that he interrupted Ella. That's my main problem. It's not the fact that he suddenly went off on, the NWA and paying them or whatnot. Although I did find it strange that his response was kind of like, well, hey, I'm entitled to getting you a little more attention, kind of thing. And I'm like, all right, sure, pal, kind of thing. I'm like, whatever you say. It's not great. And the fact that he circles back and gives us the typical AEW women's division answer, because at this point I can probably say it, but I could probably answer it by heart at this point, because it's essentially all the same points. I sort of enumerated them earlier, just a minute ago. We're working hard. The women, we're very proud of the women. We're very proud of the talent that they're putting in, working hard with Dustin, training really hard. We're always looking to give them more time to improve. We're doing good, but we can always do better. That's essentially always Tony gave it today. Cody has given it every time that he's asked about the women's division. It's always the same thing. We're 2 years running, heading on to 3 in regards to these types of answers regarding the women's division. But my problem is the fact that he cut off Ella. And, and again, I made sure that you understood that I like Ella, have a working relationship with Ella. She does good work. I'm always happy that she's able to work with us and do things with us. She's great. Look, she's great. So I want to make sure that this is, that maybe there is a bit of a bias happening here, but at the same time, I can tell you very, very strongly that it's terribly difficult for women to get hired first and foremost as wrestling media, right? Writers, so on and so forth. It is extremely difficult for them to get into these circles. And when they do, it's even more difficult for them to be part of these media scrums, which happens, but get called on, and it's improving, but it's still extremely difficult. Plus, so when you do call on a woman and you cut her off, those are not good optics when it's already a struggle for women in the field to get into these positions first and foremost. So I just on that, it's kind of bad optics. Would he have cut off, I don't know, Bill Pritchard or Sean Ross Sapp or Mike Johnson? I don't know. I don't think he cut off anyone else during the call. I don't think so. That's my main issue. And it's doubly bad optics when people are asking you questions about your women's division, which is a contentious issue amongst fans. I think we're all in agreement with that. Wherever you fall on whether they're doing a good job or a bad job, I think objectively everyone agrees that it's a contentious issue within the community, with wrestling fans. So the fact that you're cutting off a woman, asking you about your women's division to go off on a tangent about how you paid your women for the NWA and Power Show, it's just terrible optics. And it doesn't help your case. It's just not a good look. And, I think I'm on the record here, right? Wouldn't you, regular viewers, listeners, agree that I've been on the AEW is doing better train recently? Wouldn't you say? I haven't been, I'm still very cautiously optimistic, but I've been enjoying what they've been doing. I think the TBS title tournament, I think it's fantastic, and I can't wait to talk about it a little more this evening. could do an update, because I love me some tournament wrestling, and they're doing it for the women, and they're taking their time. They're not relegating it to a YouTube show. Like, I've been very high on the clear effort and direction that AEW is trying to give their women's division. Then again, we turn around and we're getting, one women's match on the main card. There's 9 matches on the main card, and only one of them is a women's match. My point is the optics of it. I know firsthand, working with Kristen, who is, of course, the editor-in-chief, co-owner of Bell to Bells, and also the editor-in-chief of My Heart. I know how difficult it is. I know how she has to work a little more, a little stronger, a little more than everyone else does. I see it. So for this kind of stuff to happen, especially in a situation where you're considered to be a little contentious, it's considered to be a little contentious what you're talking about. I don't think it was the appropriate response. And I'm going to tell you one thing. On the opposite side, if true, and I don't see, excuse me, I don't see why Tony Khan, owner, CEO, head of creative, all of his titles of AEW, I don't see why he would go out on a media call and say something outrageously false, like, I paid my talent to go there, unless there was some truth to it. Because the NWA could easily retaliate, regardless, so if it is, if it is true, I want to know why he did it, why he paid his talent to go on someone else's show. That's kind of weird, but it has nothing to do with him reacting. The fact that he reacted as such here, the fact that when Ella mentioned NWA Power, he got triggered. Oh no, I'm gonna stop you there, because NWA, like, I'm exaggerating. He didn't react like that, but it felt like, excuse me, it felt like he suddenly got triggered. That it lit something under him and was like, no, guy, I'm gonna settle this right here. Clearly giving us a little peek behind the curtain. I don't think like everything is fine and dandy. I don't think everything is sweet as caramel pie right now between the NWA and AEW. I think, you don't air a grievance like this if your partner's doing good by you. Because later on in the call, he's talking about how great of a relationship he has now with New Japan as opposed to when AEW started. They've cultivated a great relationship and they're looking to push it forward even more. So it's weird. It's weird. But ultimately, I think that it was that the optics of him cutting off a female journalist asking a question on a media scrum about your women's division, which is already a contentious decision, is bad optics. I think it's weird. Okay, I don't want to spend the entire show on this, but I do want to say hello to John Bear Gaming. Nice to see you, John Bear Gaming, and Mr. Fantastic has joined us as well. Pete Davies, did I say hello to you, Pete? Nice to see you, Pete. Nice to see everyone. Thank you for being here tonight, everyone. All right, let's go back just about a week from just about a week ago. We're gonna talk about AEW Rampage from last Friday. AEW, fun little show. That's the thing with Rampage. Consistently, the easiest wrestling watch from any of the main television programs. Let me know what you guys thought of Rampage last week, by the way. Bryan Danielson defeating Anthony Bowens. Fun little match. Anthony Bowens, man, you can't sleep on the guy too much. Can't sleep on that guy too much. You know, I know everyone's, enamored with Max Caster because he does, he's doing a 2021 version of the Doctor of Thugonomics, right? But Bowens, man. Bowens is great. I really like him. He is not a guy to be slept on. Fun little match they had there. We had the last of the first round tournaments. The last of the first round matches of the AEW TBS title tournament, where Red Velvet defeated the Bunny, as I predicted. And I just realized here, TBS tournament standings. I didn't pull up a graphic, so I don't have the brackets right now. Let me see what we have here. Okay, so we have it here. There, I got it. Just want to make sure. So basically, the round one matches are all out of the way. We're moving into the quarterfinals where everyone had the buys. But I just want to point out, because we're doing it now. We're doing the update of the TBS tournament right here. I just want to point out that I've been right with all of my first round picks. So I am batting 1,000 right now, kiddies. I'm swinging for the fences and I'm hitting everyone, and everyone is going over the fence for a home run. Now, I want you all to take a second to appreciate how someone who doesn't enjoy real sports is able to use sports analogies like that with aplomb and in correct circumstances. Please take a moment to appreciate all of that, as well as the fact that I'm batting 1,000. I have a perfect score so far. So the quarterfinals, we've got Ruby Soho, who had a bye, will be taking on Jamie Hayter. I think Ruby Soho moves forward. Jamie Hayter, she's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I think there is a spot. It's important that a big baby face moves on here. Jade Cargill, got a bye, will be taking on Red Velvet. The match that I thought they were going to do. Red Velvet, she performs excellently in high pressure situations. She's wrestled Jade a couple of times in the past, and she makes Jade look like $1 million every time. Because, again, not taking away anything from Cargill's intangibles, what she looks like, her physique. I will never look as good as Jade Cargill. That's fine. Still very green. So she needs someone like Red, who is going to accentuate all of her strengths. Red Velvet is the perfect fit. So Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet. Jade's gonna win. There is two ways you can look at this, and I think we discussed this last week. There's really two ways you can go about doing this. Jade, the favorite, the company superstar, you push her, push Jade, because they are putting a lot into getting Jade over, into making her a star. It would be weird if they had her lose and not go forward in the tournament, unless they have title plans, world title plans for her shortly. I think it'd be weird if she lost here, but that's just me. However, there is a compelling argument to be made that if you wanted to have someone in this tournament have the Cinderella underdog story, Red Velvet is perfect for that situation. Fans love her. She's a clear underdog in this match with Jade, especially since she has a losing record against Jade. This would be great. This would be absolutely great. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think the safe money, if I were a betting man, I would bet on Jade. But I'm pretty sure if Red were to win, there'd be a substantial amount of money to be made there. here is this is the toss-up here. Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida. This is the toss-up match because I think you can go either way here. I think you can go, wait a second. I think I was confused, right? I just realized I don't think I had a good version of the bracket here. Yeah, it was Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is going to be facing Jamie Hayter, not Ruby Soho. I apologize. I clearly didn't have. I didn't have a good, a properly updated bracket here, and I apologize. That's on me. Was the last thing I had to prepare, and I didn't prepare it. I apologize, but here, sorry about that. Thunder Rosa is going to be taking on Jamie Hayter, right? As opposed to Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho is taking on Chris Statlander. I'm sorry. But my point still stands. I think Thunder Rosa moves forward because she is a tremendous babyface. A tremendous babyface. And I think she's, you're going to have a good old-fashioned Thunder Rosa Jamie Hayter thing. Plus, Jamie Hayter is still part of Britt Baker's crew. So, you know what that means. We're still sowing the seeds here for another Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match. This is what we're getting here at the same time, which is clearly something that people want because when they stood face to face against each other and threw hands on Wednesday, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, people popped huge for it. They were excited about it. So for sure, we're gonna keep just sowing the seeds here. It's going like that. So Thunder Rosa is going to versus Jamie Hayter's on the minute, and Thunder Rosa goes for it. Jade Cargill, Red Velvet. Again, there's a compelling argument to be made for. There's a compelling argument to be made for Red Velvet to go forward as an underdog, but I think Jade Cargill is gonna go for it. So back to Nyla Rose and Hikaru Shida. To me, this is the toss-up. Because look, either way, between Chris Statlander and Ruby Soho, which is the last of the, which is at the bottom, basically, of the quarterfinal brackets, Statlander and Soho are two baby faces, two people who are over with the crowd. I personally think you go forward with Ruby Soho. That's what I think you do. I think Ruby has a lot of upside. Now, the question is, what do you want on your... But these are two baby faces moving forward. Nyla Rose, Shida, is that... do you go with another babyface versus babyface in the following round and have Shida go forward? Or do you go with Nyla Rose getting a win over Shida and then you have a big-time heel to go up with, a big baby face? It's a bit of a toss-up here. I wish I had, a clear perspective here. But the way that I'm booking the tournament, my finals is top crowd fan favorite Ruby Soho taking on, monster heel Jade Cargill. And again, this is another situation where Soho can help accentuate Cargill's weaknesses, right? So I think there's something to be said there, for that final, to have those two there. So, regardless of how we get there, that's my prediction for the end. I think we get Cargill and Soho in the finals. Now, you can put Nyla Rose over Shida very easily. You can do one of two things. You can have Serena Deeb stick her nose in the business, right? You can do that. Like, AEW doesn't have really, it's not something they do very often, but they could do that. Have Deeb just interfere. Or you could play off the fact that Serena Deeb, in her last match with Shida, beat the shit out of her. So you can have Shida come in hurt, you know? Although it's been a couple of weeks, so, you know, you'd be like, well, she would have had time to heal, wouldn't she? Unless she really got hurt, you know? It depends. It's all storytelling. It's all kayfabe, regardless. But I think there is an easy out here for Nyla Rose to, like, to exploit. If she does hurt, well, you know, there's a story there for Rose to take advantage of that. Statlander and Soho, I think Soho in the finals, Jade Cargill, I think it's much more of a solid finish, final match. And she can take good care of Jade in the meantime, you know what I mean? She can help her out quite a bit. Experienced veteran. Because don't forget, here's the thing. Don't forget, the best way, and any wrestler will tell you this, the best way to improve as a wrestler is to get into the ring and actually wrestle other people and, you know, veterans, people who are very good at it, you know, people that you can learn from. Sometimes I feel like I have to preface a lot of my Jade comments with, Jade is really good. Like, she has a lot of potential and I have to preface that a lot because I feel like a lot, like it can easily be misconstrued as, oh, he thinks Jade Cargill is terrible. I don't think she's terrible, and I actually see her potential. I think she has a lot of upside. I don't think she's ready to be in the spot they want her to be in. But that's not on her. That's the booking, right? That's a whole other thing. And I think that the more that she wrestles experienced, high-level, high-caliber, world-class talent, the better and the faster she will improve. Nothing against Red Velvet. Red Velvet is 2-3 years into the business, maybe a little more, but she's still relatively new. As opposed to Ruby Soho, who's been in the business for 15 years, something like that, maybe a little more. That's how you improve. That's how you get better. And hopefully that's what we'll see. I want Jade to succeed. I really do. Because I think she does have a lot of upside. I really, really do. I want her to go down the Nyla Rose route, where I could not stand to watch Nyla Rose matches, and then in 2020, Nyla Rose just like, boom, she exploded, she improved. It's like, holy shit. She's been putting in the work, she's been training, perfecting everything she's been, and now it's like, sure, give us more Nyla. And less Vicky. So back to Rampage, we had as I said, which led us into the TBS title talk. Red Velvet versus the Bunny, and then the main event, Adam Cole versus John Silver, which was a blast. Let's just call it what it was. It was a lot of fun. It was so much fun. It was a fun little match, and I think that's all that happened on Rampage. I don't think anything else of note took place. I don't seem to recall anything. I don't seem to recall anything else happening. Yeah, it's a 1 hour show. You can only put so much into it, right? I mean, so yeah, that would be it. What are you talking about, Warren? There was the CM Punk Eddie Kingston promo. I mean, it's the greatest thing that happened, right? It's one of the greatest promo segments this year, if not the greatest. And it will be fondly remembered as we in 10 years from now, when we're sitting around doing our AEW recap podcasts. because you know those are happening. This is something we're going to be talking about. Oh, it's that Rampage. It was for that Full Gear where we got that promo. God damn. This is how, like, I'm not going to break it down, okay? You've seen it multiple times, I'm sure. It's the greatest thing. And this is how you get me excited for a wrestling match. It is a tried and true formula. And maybe this is because I've watched older, wrestling before, the 2000s. Maybe it's because I do remember promo work. But this is how you get things going and you make things exciting, and proof that when you have the right people in the right positions, you don't need 6 weeks of buildup to make a match exciting and to have people want to see it. When that promo happened last Friday, we were a week and a day before Full Gear. The match was not announced. Didn't know what was happening. We had an inkling, right? Because the week before there was the interruption angle. But up until that point, the match wasn't even announced. And Punk and Kingston get out there and they cut 1 8-minute promo. And I'm like, you sold me a ticket. If I wasn't convinced about the pay-per-view before, this is it right here. I even tweeted out, let's break down the Full Gear card. Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk. Everything else. Because at that moment in time, at that specific moment when I was listening to that promo, no other match on that card mattered. And that's awesome. It's awesome that pro wrestling is still able to make me feel stuff like that. I'm able to look at a moment, 2 guys go after each other verbally, and I'm like, oh, god damn, I just want to see them tear each other apart now. And it took 1 8-minute promo to think, well, but Warren, you are always complaining about 8-minute promos that you don't like. Why now you like this one? Fair question, weird accent guy. Here's my response. You do it once, and it's a back and forth that has energy, spontaneity, passion. Not people sitting on their lines waiting for people to hit their cues. We got 2 guys who are just probably went over the bullet points backstage and like, okay, let's see what happens. And you do it once. You don't do it every fucking week. Week after week after week. Always in the same spot starting off the show. Low energy, low tempo. No, this felt personal. This felt passionate. And this is the thing. I think this is one of the things too that why a lot of people latched on to the promo. And that's because we get 2 decades of one wrestling promotion doing, scripted, insincere promos, where you're like, people don't talk like this in real life, right? Sometimes how, when there's exchanges between pro wrestlers in WWE, it's like, people don't talk like that in real life. How these 2 guys were going at, that was real life. That's how people speak to each other when they are heated, when they are mad. Oh, yeah. But they do. It's true. And I am so stoked for this. I am legitimately excited for this match. The content of the promo. Look, even if you were new to wrestling and you weren't privy to Eddie Kingston's backstage reputation throughout the 2000s, right? Or or CM Punk's backstage reputation at that, Kingston called him out with some hard truths. Like, the things that were being discussed in the ring were things that I had heard about, that, that were making the dirt sheet rounds, that were, being reported on, that were rumors, It's all stuff that I had heard about. And CM Punk has always had a reputation about being, here we go, difficult to work with for a bunch of reasons, right? At some point, I've said this before, just to clear this up, your favorite wrestler at some point has been called difficult to work with by someone somewhere. That's, that's unquestionable. And it means a whole bunch of stuff, but we're not getting into that today. If CM Punk is on, a redemption run for his career, I'm convinced that he and Eddie have some legit beef. I wouldn't go as far as to say that everyone in the locker room didn't want to see him there. Maybe not. Maybe there's definitely a couple of people. There's one in particular I'm pretty sure doesn't quite care to see him around. But I wouldn't be surprised if if two guys like Eddie Kingston and CM Punk had some legit beef with each other. Wouldn't be shocked for a second that it still exists today, is what I'm trying to say. And maybe this is a way for them to get past it, to move on, to put stuff away. It's like, I don't know. But it was entertaining as hell. And then it makes me think about, who are the people that we consider in WWE to be really good promos, right? Who are the people that when they cut promos, you're like, this is awesome, this is great. I think the New Day in general, right? When they cut their promos, it always feels genuine, feels real. I think Kevin Owens is up there as well. He's a guy, he'll just always speak, and he'll always cut some great stuff. And then I'm like, okay, so why do we feel like these people are Malcolm Bivens? He's a performer. Yes, but look, it kind of placates my point here. When you think about guys like the New Day and Kevin Owens, they cut their promos. Even Sami Zayn, they cut their promos and they don't sound ham-fisted. They don't sound like they're reading lines. And why is it? Because they probably don't memorize the lines. They probably have the leeway to just go out and talk in a way that makes sense, that sounds real, and that comes from the heart. And that's why they're so engaging. That's why you're like, damn, this is good stuff here. And it kind of makes you want to. It makes you want to have more of that. More people who can cut these passionate, real, human promos, right? Not Mark Zuckerberg talking about, fucking meta rooms or whatever promos. We're talking like actual living, breathing feelings being pumped into what you're doing. That's what this promo got to. That's how it got to me. That's how it reeled me in. And honestly, it's probably the match I'm most looking forward to on the entire card. Just because of that promo. Just because I'm like, this is going to be a fight. This is going to be a fight. It's going to be a dragged out fight. This is my expectation. I'm very, very, very excited to see it. Plus, you know what it does too? Compounds this theory that Eddie Kingston is the modern day Dusty Rhodes. Because now he's like, this is my struggle. This is what I had to go through to get here. This is what I had to do. Fucking love it. Great Rampage. I love Rampage. Such the easiest show ever to watch. You know what else is easy? That's not a good way to. That's never a good segue. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Because I was going to say, you know what else is easy? Coming over to the Discord to listen to our stage event this Saturday, 2 p.m. Full Gear chat. I was going to say, it's so easy to come into the Discord, which it is. But I also wanted to underscore the fact that Anakin gave me a super chat, and then it all got jumbled in my brain. And now I gave the impression that Anakin is easy, which honestly I can't speak on because I don't know him that well. But Anakin, thank you very much. But yes, come and join the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord. God damn it. You're making Dad mad now. Come and join the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord. And this Saturday, 2 p.m., we're going to be holding a stage event, which is basically like Twitter Spaces and all that stuff, where we got a moderator, we start a round table, we start talking. We're going to be talking about Full Gear, which is happening later on in the evening. Predictions, opinions, thoughts. Everyone can jump in, raise their hand. They come and take everyone gets a turn to talk if they want to. They're more than welcome. You can just come in and sit and listen. But it's all in the Discord. Link is in the description. Do it. AEW Dynamite was speaking of Full Gear. It was the full. It was the go home Dynamite. There we go. Yeah, pretty fun stuff. I thought it was a very good go home show. Started off with Bryan Danielson defeating Rocky Romero from New Japan Professional Wrestling from the Chaos faction, and we all saw the bit at this point, right? Chaos, which is Kazuchika Okada's faction, which includes Rocky Romero, which includes Tomohiro Ishii, which includes Yoshi-Hashi. The Chaos has been trimming down. Robbie Eagles is in Chaos, if I'm not mistaken. He's the junior, right? Show? No, Yo. No, Show. Yo. No, not Show. Show's in, Show's with, the bad guys. No, Yo, formerly of Roppongi 3K. And now they inducted, Rocky Romero said, I called my best friend Kazuchika Okada. I love when he takes the piss with that every time. This is my best friend. And he said that I can induct you guys. I can add you to Chaos. You guys being best friends. Chucky T, Trent, Orange Cassidy, Chris Statlander, making her the first female member of Chaos. And Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta. What I like the most about this bit, and I'm still laughing because I still think it's funny. Rocky was there, was talking about, my best friend, Kazuchika Okada, is going to endorse you, he's going to invite you into Chaos, our faction, and you are in, and Chucky's like, I'm already in this, and he's like, hey, well, what do you think? You want to join? And Orange Cassidy goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I love it, because you know what? That's exactly what us wrestling nerds sound like to anyone else, especially, look, I'm saying us wrestling nerds. A lot of us who talk about New Japan, to people who don't follow New Japan, they're like, look, you guys are saying words right now, but I don't understand the goddamn thing you're talking about. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I'm still laughing about it. I still think it was a great bit. So that led into, well, it didn't lead into this match. This match was already happening regardless. But good on Rocky to get his match with Bryan Danielson. Not speculated, but it initiated a lot of speculation in regards to whether or not Kazuchika Okada was going to show up. Got a lot of people excited. I sort of played into it, but he didn't show up on Dynamite, and it wouldn't have made sense for him to show up on a Dynamite before the pay-per-view, because that would have outshined everything. Would have outshined everything going on leading into the pay-per-view. Now, would he show up at the pape? That'd be pretty dope. I think that'd be fun if he, surprise appearance by Kazuchika Okada. Because look, if Rocky Romero is hanging around AEW and he's like, can I have a match with Bryan Danielson? To me, I'm not saying I'm having any, I'm definitely not saying that I have any insider information. But just knowing how the way the world works, that feels like a little something that he may have added within some negotiations to sort of get some prime New Japan talent in here. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. We're clearly, unfortunately, but then again, I say unfortunately, but it's all for the right reasons. We're not going to get Tomohiro Ishii versus Jon Moxley on North American soil. Again, I say unfortunately, but it's for all the right reasons, and we're all solidly behind Jon Moxley and his struggle right now. We hope he's doing well. But if he is bringing Kazuchika Okada in, he'd be like, he's sitting with Tony Khan. He's like, Tony, I can get you Kazu. It's not a big deal. But why don't you give me a match with Daniel Bryan? And Tony Khan's like, why would I give you a match with Daniel Bryan? Because if you give me a match with Daniel, if you don't, I'm not going to get you Kazu. And Tony Khan's like, fine. And, Rocky goes, yay. Like, I definitely, it kind of, because it's a match that's a little out of nowhere, for being honest. I like Rocky Romero, don't get me wrong. It's very out of left field. But, yeah. It feels like something that you'd add into your negotiation things. Anyway, fun little segment. And to answer the question, yes, I did pick up a copy of Mox. I have it digital. I am an ebook reader, audiobook aficionado. But yes, I have picked it up. Not quite as far in as I'd like to, but it's good. It's good. Hey, Conrad! Everything Pro Wrestling! Nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Inner Circle then come out for an interview. They get attacked by the America Top Team and the Men of the Year. So, and the segment ends with Dan Lambert putting Chris Jericho in the Boston Crab, the Walls of Jericho, right? And having Jericho tap, and I'm doing air quotes here. Look, if you want my full thoughts, of course, as I said, on this whole angle, the Inner Circle and America's top dudes, America's Top Team, head on over to the Full Gear predictions, which is already on the channel that I've done with Queen of NE, as I said at the beginning of the show. But I will say this, in regards to this whole angle, it's time for it to come to a halt. I think we're good. I'm fine with it. I'm actually, I'm done with it, is what I'm trying to say. No, we're good. Let's have the blow off and never speak of this again. However, the one thing, as drawn out as this has been, and as big as it's been, like, because it's taken a lot of mind share from the show, I think the payoff isn't going to be all that interesting. But anyway, yeah, you can listen to my full thoughts. But I will point this out here. The one thing that I'm going to miss, if the America Top Team is done, Dan Lambert disappearing is going to be a huge bummer, because I know he's super contentious. I know there's a lot of people who don't like him. A lot of people do. I love what he does, because what he is doing, and he proved it. He proved No, he proved it last week, and he just put the cherry on top of that proof this week that he is the penultimate old school wrestling manager who doesn't have an athletic bone in his body, who's just a loud mouth, right? And he gets thrown into a match. Remember last week, he starts freaking out. He's like, no, not me. I never said that. Don't put me in the match. You know, he's like, nah. And this week, he gets to put a wrestler in a wrestling move. Ooh, you know, and the wrestler was already knocked out, you know, and he's putting on the move for the visual. And then he's all giddy after that he did it. He is the most Jim Cornette guy out there. We've said it from the start. Lambert is, excuse me, Lambert is Jim Cornette. Just in the way that he's been addressing the crowds, the heat that he's trying to get with the AEW faithful. That's what he is. He is Jim Cornette, and he became full blown, and I'm talking manager Jim Cornette, right? Managerial character type wrestler guy from the 80s, Jim Cornette, you know, freaking out that he's being put in a match, then having his goons knock out a guy so he can put him in a wrestling move. That is the most perfect old school wrestling manager shtick I have seen in years. No one has done it better than him at this point. It is a throwback, and it is a good one. So when I see so many people get upset at what he's saying, get upset at the fact that he's in the match, I'm shrugging, and I'm like, maybe it is because 2 decades of having things done in one specific hermetic way have led us to believe that, you know, this is the only way to go. But it's fantastic. Don't kid yourselves. Dan Lambert is a wrestling fan. He is a wrestling fan and everything he's doing is calculate, and he's putting the effort into it. He's convincing. He knows what he has to do. He knows what beats he has to hit. He's seen it all. He's seen the manager types. He's looked at tape if he had to. If at this point you don't get his antics, if it doesn't make you at the very least chuckle or smirk, I don't know what to tell you. The trios match, the women's trios match, Tay J and Thunder Rosa defeating Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel I thought it was fun. Couple of good sequences. I think it is compounded. You know, despite the fact that Tay is the next challenger, right, at Full Gear. Despite the fact that that she's the next challenger, you know, everyone wants Thunder Rosa versus Britt again. I said it earlier. That confrontation they had in the ring, people just got electric about it. This is what you want. Wardlow beat the shit out of Wheeler Yuta. Jesus Christ. Poor Wheeler. And just this weekend, he got the shit beat out of him by Jeff Cobb. He comes into work on Wednesday and he gets the shit beat out of him again by Wardlow. Hell of a couple of days for our boy Yuta. Then we get a pair of fantastic matches. Dante Martin and Lio Rush versus Lee Moriarty and Matt Sydal. Fantastic stuff. Just exciting, high-flying, electric, fast. Man, Dante Martin's, you know, high air sunset bomb, it fucking rules. Every time. Lio Rush's, you know, his nervous little quick action, his corkscrew spinning, whatever his spinning kill switch that he did. Fantastic stuff. As wrestling fans, we are better off having Lio Rush in the business than out. I am so glad that he's wrestling again. I hope he sticks around for a while. I hope things go his way. I hope he stays healthy, mentally, physically, because we are better off with him wrestling for us. God damn, this was good. And then my match of the night, and who would have thought going into this, Pac versus Dax Harwood. It's fucking ruled. And this is what's wild. Like, and shout out to Cult Icon over on Twitter for putting me onto this path here. We had a WCW style cruiserweight, well, not a style, but we had a WCW type cruiserweight match just before this one. And now we have a down and dirty physical confrontation with two guys who are just beating the hell out of each other. And in the meantime, commentary's talking about going to TBS. And I'm like, this is great. This is so good. Like, I've jumped back 30 years. Look at this shit. And it was such a good match. I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. What I didn't think was as good was the main event contract signing. Sorry to burst anyone's bubble, but it was not good. It's not good. Contract signings are not good. By definition, they're a trope. They're a tired trope. That, and I will maintain this, it is simply a device used by uninspired creative to try and create something that just doesn't connect. I want to know who gets excited at the words contract signing. Who's like, yeah, baby! Whoa! Let's sign some good old-fashioned paperwork. Yeah! Let's get ourselves some pens and some folders and some legal documents to sign. Ooh, bring out a comfortable chair or two. Let's get a table and put a tablecloth over it. Yippee-yoo! Man, I'm so excited for this good old-fashioned, exciting, fun stuff that is the contract signing. Like, it boggles my mind. I don't understand. And here, look. Maybe you haven't been around as long. Because my dislike of contract signings goes a ways back. And it's kind of part of my brand, but it's also very legitimate. Look, there is something baffling to me about setting up a contract signing in front of a television set, even if it is in front of a television crowd and in an audience, even if it is all in kayfabe, right? If we are doing this in kayfabe, that means, look, just think about this for a second. That means that the main event of Full Gear in 3 days from the moment that they're signing this, 3 days later, the pay-per-view 3 days later, with the match that was advertised as their main event for the world title, there wasn't even a signature from the main parties involved. So in kayfabe, wouldn't that imply that the promotion is not very well run if they're advertising a match that the participants haven't agreed upon, that they don't have, that there hasn't been paperwork actually made out yet? Wouldn't, in kayfabe, I think it always gives the organization a bad look. Because you're like, why are you advertising this match if it hasn't been signed yet? You absolute dopes. Why am I giving you money? But I get it. Okay, this is kayfabe. But not kayfabe, as a viewer of a contract signing, there is nothing that turns me off more than people sitting down and relaxing and grabbing a microphone and cutting promos on each other. It is the most low energy, low effort bullshit. And I don't like it. Now, 20 years again of this one company doing it over and over again has driven it into the ground. It doesn't feel special. I would say there was a time that it did feel special. Andre and Hogan felt fucking special. Ric Flair and Luger, who signed an NWA title contract. I think it was the NWA, or maybe like early WCW contract on a fucking yacht. That was cool. But the setup is always the same. Table, chairs, pens, and then and then we're all, it's to the point that we all expect the same things to happen. One guy says something, the other guy says something, the other guy responds, and then it's either chairs start to fly, someone goes through the table gets flipped, then it becomes like, oh, what's gonna happen next? But it's not even entertaining, it's not even fun, because we've seen it so many times that I'm expecting, when I see it now, I'm expecting something different to happen, something to break the formula. And no, folks, no. Hangman doing a blade job as we're going off the air and Kenny Omega smearing his blood on a contract, that's not wacky for me. That doesn't break the formula. We're just ending up in the same position as any contract signings. Like, well, contracts are signed and the heel beat up the babyface. It's always the same thing. It's actually worse when no one gets beat up. I'll concede that. But this was not. And you know what? Here's the thing: is like, I was expecting AEW to do something different. I was expecting them to fuck around with the formula a little bit, try something else. And I'm like, no, this was essentially every contract signing that I've ever seen in my life. I had, some people see, I understand that, especially when I'm on Twitter and I'm going nuts about it. Like, part of it is a bit, right? A lot of people who follow me on Twitter, and a lot of you as well, watching right now or listening right now, you poke the bear, you come after me, oh, Warren, I get a lot of that's. A lot of people responding to me, getting to me as Warren Hayes' favorite event, contract signing, and I'm like, so, I play into it. Not gonna lie, because it's fun. It's a bit. It's all right. I do hate them, but it's still, I at least try to have fun with the concept of it, right? I don't know where I was going with this. What did I want to say? Contracts. Yeah. So the idea. So the idea that a contract signing could be a little different isn't all that hard. And this is what I was expecting from AEW. I was expecting them to be like, well, let's just try something different. What if Kenny leaves and doesn't sign the contract? Then you got a talking point going into your pay-per-view on Saturday. You could do a little story bump on Rampage to build it up a little more. I think it's really interesting. But we just fell into the exact same pattern. I'm like, no, guys, don't start this. And it ends the show. AEW Dynamite ending the show with a main event segment with pretend paperwork. Where week after week, I'm like, you know what the greatest part is with Dynamite? It starts with a hot match, finishes with a hot match. And now it's like, no, we're finishing with the worst thing. The worst thing. So no, I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was interesting. I didn't think it was, but they're trying to, no. They didn't try anything. They stuck to the formula. And if I hate it with one company, I'm going to hate it with the other two. I'm excited for someone to screw around with the formula Give me something surprising. I've been seeing the same shit for decades now. Do something else. Or just don't do them at all. Don't do them at all. Because I had someone, because there was someone on Twitter who told me, well, it's a pretext for these guys to cut promos on each other. Last Friday on Rampage, CM Punk and Eddie Kingston didn't need that much of a pretext to cut promos on each other. Just had CM Punk coming out saying, well, apparently Eddie Kingston has a problem with me. And Eddie Kingston comes out and is like, yeah, motherfucker, I have a problem with you. That's all. The pretext for wrestling, for wrestlers cutting promos on each other is, we are going to fight. You don't need weird gimmicks. You don't need, these press conferences that AEW would do. The things with the question and answer shit. It's like, it's all too much. Stick to the they're so good at the basics. They're so good at just keeping the nitty gritty, bringing wrestling back down to its essence. That when they start doing the sports entertaining things, and I really use air quotes here because I'm trying not to be too disparaging. When they do start doing that, then it feels off. It's weird. Stick to the basics, AEW. You're so good at it. And that's why so many people are so passionate about what you do, because you're so good at the basics. Still, enjoyable go-home show. Don't get me wrong. All right, let's go through here. Anakin GMT left us a super chat. He says, I am not easy, old man. Now hang on. Look, my kid was talking to me the other day. Old man, here's something to keep in mind. In a couple of years, I will be eligible for the senior citizens discount at the zoo. Who's laughing now? Thank you for the super chat. I want to also say hello to the Nicholas Nutter, who's with us. I also want to say hello to Diego Rafael Solis Rivera. Good to see you as well. And to Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Yeah. Hello. Oh, and J.K. Schwal is here as well. Nice to see you. So since we're done talking about AEW, we are going to move into New Japan Pro Wrestling as per voted by the live crowd at the Mr. Warren Hayes show here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Let's see here. Let me pull up my notes. We're good. We're good. New Japan Professional Wrestling. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really excited. And J.K. Schwal just left us a super chat just before I jump right in. Thank you very much, J.K. Schwal. He says, is it better in your eyes if it ends at handshake? Is it better in your eyes if it ends at handshake? Do you mean if a contract signing finishes with a handshake instead of people beating themselves up? I'm assuming that's what you mean. Look, it's better if we don't have any contract signings. That's the point. If you can't do it, you don't, no. Just don't do it. It's better if we don't. Don't do it. Liz isn't streaming. Welcome to the chat. I'm glad. Thank you for letting us know that you're not streaming, Liz. What a great username. I love it. I'll just touch on what they're asking, because I did make a note of it and I forgot to tell. Because a lot of people then, I keep talking about contract signing. One of the things that come up often in contract signings is like, oh, well, this part of the promo was great. This part of the promo was good. And, so that's what people respond to me. Oh, but the reference to the Golden Lovers, though, wasn't that awesome? Oh, the fact that Hangman was wearing the same shirt that he wore, at the interview he gave at Revolution, before Revolution. And No. Like, it doesn't, like, yes, the content is great, but it doesn't elevate the contract signing, because everything that was said could have been said in any type of promo situation. You didn't have to have both guys sitting at either end of the table to do it. The contract sign, the whole thing, like the contract signing gimmick doesn't bring anything to the promo game, doesn't bring anything effective, it doesn't bring anything original, doesn't bring anything that will spur these conversations, because the wrestlers can cut promos on each other whenever they want. You know? They don't need this setup, which is ultimately always boring. You know? They don't need this setup to do it. Power Struggle happened last weekend in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I tweeted out, I was like, was this the best the best show of the year for New Japan? And I always forget that the Wrestle Kingdom shows are in January of the year. Like, because they're always such a closure of the year. I always feel like they're in the previous year, but they are this year, right? So they did happen in 2021. Night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom was phenomenal. It's just a great show. So, no, maybe not the greatest show this year, but goddamn, Power Struggle was a good show. It was a very, very strong New Japan show. I'd probably put it above night 2 of the nights 1 and 2 of the G1 this year, which I thought were extremely good shows. This was really good. I'm gonna recap. Let's go through it. Some things very quickly. Some things we're gonna chew on a little bit. We had opening match. We had Duki and Kanemaru defeating Fujita and Oiwa, the two new young lions who are out of the dojo and into the stadiums to get their asses whooped. It was all right. It was a fine match. Short. Bullet Club team of Gato, Jado, and Tangaloa defeated Great Bash Heel, making a comeback. The tag team of Tony Makabe and Hanma and Tiger Mask. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. Fine. Still surprised at the ending where Loa got the win using apeshit on Hanma, who has, very clear neck problems. Well, he's had neck surgery, right? His neck's fucked up, is what I'm trying to say. He could have had Tiger Mask take the pin here. Anyway, Tangaloa did most of the work here, so good for him. El Gato Pollo Loco, welcome to the chat. Next, we had the LIJ team of Bushi, Sanada, and Kristen's favorite, Hiromu Takahashi, defeating Master Wato, Taguchi, and Yuji Nagata. I like this. This was my favorite trios match of the show. I thought this was a lot of fun. I really, really like Taguchi and Wato without his stupid blue shit. And as much as I liked to meme on it. I thought it was funny. I think we all thought it was funny. The Master Wato, the blue hair, the getup, I think it's good. I think it's good that he sort of got rid of all the blue shit. I feel like I can take him a little more seriously. It was a fine trios match. Then we had the House of Torture, composed of Evil, Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, defeating the IWGP Never Openweight 6-man tag team champions, the Chaos faction of Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, and Yoshi-Hashi. A lot of shenanigans in here. Look, didn't care for it much, and whatever. Look, it's the never 6-man titles. I don't give a shit. Gato doesn't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Why would anyone give a shit? Now we start getting into the singles matches. The first one we had was the new... Okay, so the King of Pro Wrestling title was on the line. Our boy, Toriano, defending against Great-O-Khan. And as you know, the King of Pro Wrestling matches are all fought under a stipulation, which is voted on by the public. And the choices were, for this one, the loser has to kiss the other one's foot, which was the stipulation offered by Great-O-Khan, because because everyone is peasants, right? The other stipulation was Toriano, and its stipulation that won was for the match to be wrestled under amateur wrestling rules. Now, I thought this was going to be silly, which is, Yano's thing. And the King of Pro Wrestling stuff is usually, goofy and, stip heavy. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But they really did it under amateur rules. You even had Yuji Nagata, who was there as a judge, come out to do an explainer for the crowd. Explaining how the point system, right? And running through the idea that, the match would consist of 2 3-minute periods, will be judged by Yuji Nagata, and I think Marty Asami as well. And you get your points, you doing different takedowns, and going into the ropes, like depending on how you take the other guy down, you can score more points if if his shoulders are on the mat, so on and so forth. Like, I'm not gonna get into details, and I'm not gonna pretend that my knowledge of amateur wrestling is really deep, because it ain't. And both guys, Great-O-Khan comes out in a singlet, and I was listening to the Japanese commentary. We didn't have the English commentary at that point. Japanese commentary lost their shit. They saw Great-O-Khan come out, not in his robes and like the goofy Japanese spirit guy. No, he comes out in his singlet, so he's ready to go. Apparently he has lots of amateur background. Toriano, we've talked about it before. He has a lot of amateur background as well. Comes out in his own singlet with the name of his university. The name skips I can't remember what his university's name was, but like he was out there to do it. And we actually get like an actual amateur wrestling match, Yano gets backed into the ropes. He scores a point. Great-O-Khan tosses Yano down for a moment. He gets 2 points because he's able to take Yano onto his back and gets another 2 points. Look, ends the first period 4-1 Great-O-Khan. Yano in the second period, of course, is super aggressive because he has to get those points. Able to score a quick point. What's wrong with me? And then Khan able to get back into control, but Yano forces him into the ropes for a point. And then Yano hits a big takedown slam that he scores like 4 points on it, brings him up. Period ends 6-5, and I'm like, wow, okay. I thought this was a nice refresher, because honestly, I'm not a fan of the King of Pro Wrestling matches. I think they're too silly, they're too goofy, and a little stilted. Like, they're not usually fun stipulation matches, usually speaking. This was so different and taken so seriously that I was like, all right, this rules. This rules. I wouldn't want to start seeing them every other week or even every other month. Like, this is something you pull out like once a year, once every 8 months, whatever. Like, Give this time to breathe, bring it back, and then you're like, oh yeah, this was cool. I just hope, I hope it doesn't become a thing, is what I'm saying, because we'll get bored really fucking quickly. But this was fun. And then, well, once Yano was announced the winner, then we go back into the realm of pro wrestling, because then Great Khan starts beating him up after the match with Aaron Henare, who's back. That made me happy. So the United Empire beating up on poor old Yano. But I thought this was entertaining. I thought it was just different enough and captivating enough and short enough to make it feel special. I liked it. I thought it was fun. El Desperado defeated IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Robbie Eagles. Got the title back just as we're about to start the Best of Super Juniors. I think it's clear where we're heading here. And Eagles took the title off of Desperado, if my memory's right. So this is like a full circle kind of thing. It was a fun match. I thought it was really good. Robbie Eagles is so good. My God, he's just really good at pro wrestling. So you can kind of see where they're going with this. I really think we're leaning into Eagles. Not Eagles, but look, I'm going to talk about it in a second, but here's a spoiler. I think Hiromu Takahashi's going to win the Best of Super Juniors again this year, and he's going to, when I say again this year, he's going to win once more the Best of Super Juniors tournament, and he's going to challenge Desperado at Wrestle Kingdom for the belt, and really that's the match we want, because last year Hiromu versus Desperado was one of my favorite matches of the year. It was so good. It was such a good physical, emotional match. I think it's natural to go back to that at Wrestle Kingdom this year. So I think that's where we're going. That would be my guess. But as it stands, so put the title on Despy as we're going into Best of Super Juniors. Fantastic. I think the Wrestle Kingdom main event is pretty clear at this point. Robbie Eagles, though, man, good little run he had, I found, with the title. Don't think he has anything to be ashamed of. He's fantastic, and if anything, it helped a lot of people who maybe weren't as familiar with how good he is to get familiar with him. New Japan better treat him right, I'll tell you that much. Here's another title switch that happened. Kenta defeated IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion Hiroshi Tanahashi. Kenta is your champion now. Strong match. I thought it was fun. Very entertaining. Didn't overstay its welcome. Good stuff. Tanahashi, again, you always think he's going downhill. Won't be able to perform at that level. He still is. Still can deliver on the big matches. Kenta was great here. But the big story, if you ask me, coming off of this match, which was very good, is Kenta, in his post-match comments, calling out CM Punk. Now, that right there, that's a Wrestle Kingdom match. Right then and there. This is your Chris Jericho heading over to New Japan to wrestle Hiroshi Tanahashi kind of level thing. CM Punk flying into Japan to fight Kenta. That's how you get new subscribers to New Japan World right there. From North America. And frankly, look, let's just sit around and dream for a second here. We've been talking, it feels like 2 years, 3 years at this point. It feels like 2 or 3 years at this point that we've been talking about Anakin JMT, by the way. Thank you very much. Member for 18 months of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. I appreciate it, man. Leaves a note here. Says Kenta versus Punk versus Sammy versus Danhausen to own the GTS. I'm chuckling because you added in Danhausen because he deserves to be in that conversation. That's funny. That's really, I love it. I think it's good. But we've been talking like, it feels like for the past 3 years, New Japan of America, we're coming in and, we're going to establish ourselves in the American public. And it's always felt like a start-stop kind of thing, like going in and then doing the shows. Like the last shows that they've been doing here haven't been drawn great. Because as much as they're working hard with Strong and signing guys like Tom Lawler and Chris Dickinson and, working with all sorts of independent talent to bolster the shows and bring in guys like Jay White. People want to see, if you go to a New Japan show in America, you want to see the Japanese talent. You want to see the big Japanese names. You want to see the Okadas, the Naitos, the Tanahashis. That's what you want to see. You want to see Kota Ibushi launch himself off of shit. That's what you want. So no disrespect to any of the great talent who are working hard to make New Japan Strong something fantastic and trying to get people to sit to buy tickets to the shows. Ultimately, it's the Japanese talent that are the draws. Now, if you can't have the Japanese talent for the draws, but you do have an IWGP US champion, why wouldn't you put it around the waist of a guy like CM Punk, who is a draw? And if Tony Khan is, like he said in the show, in the media call today, if the relationship between AEW and New Japan is better than ever, then I think it's plausible to think that CM Punk could work some New Japan of America shows, maybe get some people into the building and sit down and watch the show. I think it's a plausible scenario. I think this makes a lot of sense. Kenta is the champ, Wrestle Kingdom, you fly Phil over there, you have him fight, you have him win, comes back with the belt, and then you have your top American draw for your New Japan shows. Everyone benefits then. Then we had the IWGP Heavyweight Title #1 contendership match, the briefcase, basically, the G1 briefcase, which is now a title. Kazuchika Okada defeated Tama Tonga. I don't like the title thing. Like, Okada said a couple of weeks ago, I'm not going to carry a briefcase, I'm going to carry the old title around. And that'll be like what I'm going to defend. And it's weird. It's weird. It looks weird. I don't like it. It's weird. Especially when at the end, when he's face to face with Shingo Takagi, who already his title is contested because Will Ospreay says he's the real world champion, he never loses. And then you have Kazuchika Okada holding the old IWGP title over his shoulder. The prize, right? The belt that everyone fucking loved. That still to this day, people are like, why don't they bring that belt back? You're like, what are we doing here? What is this? Like, I look at that and I'm like, yes, we know the fucking Divas title, the Cody neck tattoo title that Shingo was holding. It's ugly compared to that one. Look, we can see it right here. I don't know why they're doing it. And Okada wins his match against Tama Tonga, and he goes to the back and he's at the top of the ramp and he hoists it up. And I'm like, what is he doing? It's not a real title. And on top of that, it's the title that we love. It's the title that is unironically loved, right? And people have always referred to as a good-looking title, like a prize. I don't understand the decision to do that, to bring it out and carry it around. Is Okada compensating for something? Is he trying to tell us something? Like, I don't know what it is. It's weird. It's weird. It's a weird decision. But this match was not weird. It was very good. It was very good. And you know what? I am here for the Tama Tonga singles run in 2022. I'm here for that. You guys know what I think about the tag team division in New Japan. Loa and Tama both had fantastic G1 performances, and Tama Tonga comes out semi-main event position here, singles match, looks like $1 million. Sure, he's wrestling one of the best in the world, who can help him through and make him himself look like help him look like $1 million as well. Sure. But even throughout the G1, Tama had great matches. Now we're going here. He had a particularly great match here. Let's keep going. Never mind the Gorillas of Destiny can reunite whenever. Like, I'm not excited for another fucking Dangerous Tekkers Gorillas of Destiny thing. I'm not looking forward to it. It's always the same shit. And you look at Tama and you look at him in the match with Okada, and you're like, Gedo, this is a guy that if you wanted, you could instantly elevate. This is a guy you could make main event material out of that people would buy into a lot more than with Evil. This is a guy that you could, if you wanted to push him higher, you wanted to get him up there, you absolutely could. Because I think Tama Tonga set out in the G1 with something on his mind. I got something to prove here. I've got something to prove, and I'm going to shine here. And he did. And he comes out of it, he goes into the singles match, Power Struggle, and he shines again. This guy is legit. He's for real. And he's put a lot of people who critiqued, I'm including myself in this. He silenced a lot of critics with these performances, with these matches. I swear, I'm here for the 2022 Tama Tonga run. Make it happen. Main event was Shingo Takagi, your IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, successfully retaining his title against Zack Sabre Jr. I love this match. I think it was fantastic. I thought it was great. The story of this match here. Look, when it started with Shingo, Zack Sabre Jr. was just screwing around with Shingo, having an answer for everything that he was doing. You know, like Shingo just coming around. This one moment where he being Zack Sabre Jr., he's got Shingo in a cravat. And Shingo brings one of his beefy arms back to sort of break out of the cravat, right? And he swings over. Junior releases the cravat. So he releases the cravat. The momentum, of course, carries Shingo through, and whoop! Sabre gets the cravat right back on. Fantastic stuff. And the story here, it's not complicated. It's not a complicated match. Zack Sabre Jr.'s skill versus Shingo's brute force. And Zack is transitioning in and out of everything. Wheelbarrows into arm bars. It was fantastic stuff. PK's the shit out of Shingo on the floor. Zack Sabre Jr. counters a sliding D into an arm lock and an arm crank and then works the arm. Look, just great stuff. And then they have this fantastic fighting spirit moment, right? This, these bursts of chain moves, fighting spirit. Snap German by Zack Sabre Jr. Shingo right back up, hits a Saito suplex. Goes for some elbows. Zack counters the elbows with an arm kick. Ducks a lariat. Hits the ropes. Hits a La Mystica. Shingo gets right back up. Hits him with a lariat. Zack Sabre Jr. hits right back up. Hits him with a PK. Both dudes are down. Fantastic sequence. Fantastic stuff. Shingo tries to put, Zack Sabre Jr. tries to push Shingo away with a couple of Zack drivers. He can't do it. It's a Last of the Dragon, of course, that puts it away. I highly recommend this match. I thought it was great stuff. A very fun show to watch. You know how sometimes I say there's sometimes, and I said this a couple of times during my G1 coverage, like, there's no show here where I would recommend someone to get it who wants to get into New Japan, right? Where I would outright recommend them to, here you go. This is the match you want, kind of. This is the show that you should get into and to start it. This is one of those. This is a match that I would introduce a non-watcher to New Japan with. I thought it was fantastic stuff from top to bottom. Really good stuff. Check it out. And then so throughout all of this is set the Wrestle Kingdom main event. Shingo Takagi versus Kazuchika Okada. Okada clearly is not going to be defending the briefcase, the number one contendership, the IWGP title. Fuck. He's not going to be doing that anymore. Clearly Shingo, maybe Shingo will have a defense on the way, but the main event is set. But then in the meantime, we've got World Tag League and the Best of Super Juniors that are starting up this weekend. First of all, Best of Super Juniors, of course, with the junior heavyweights, it's the equivalent of the G1, but for the lightweights, the junior heavyweights. Tournament starts this Saturday, November 13th. This weekend, 12 participants in one block, which is fun because there were 10 participants last year. We're getting 12 this year. El Desperado, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, is in the tournament, as well as Hiromu Takahashi, Taiji Ishimori, Sho and Yo, Bushi, Robbie Eagles, Taguchi, Master Wato, Dookie, El Fantasmo, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. The only thing that bums me out, because these are, most of these guys are absolutely fantastic. I did say most of these guys. The one thing that bums me out is, again, COVID, Japanese restrictions, travel, blah, blah, blah. Keeping the international exchange away from the Best of Super Juniors field again this year. One of the most fun things about the Best of Super Junior stuff is when we get luchadors coming in from Mexico, or just cruiserweights from anywhere else. Just that. That's one thing that bums me out here a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but it's still gonna be. It's a good field because these are all fantastic wrestlers. Again, my prediction is that Hiromu's going to win the tournament. He's going to win the block here. I'll probably dig into it a little more. Maybe do a quick video breaking down the blocks and so on and so forth. I'll see, but I won't be doing as extensive a coverage as I did with the G1. But still, I love Best of Super Juniors is always it's a fun tournament. It's good times to be had by all. And then the next day on November 14, we have the beginning of the 12-team round-robin tournament of World Tag League. The teams are Hiroshi Tanahashi and Toru Yano. Great Bash Heel team, Togi Makabe and Hanma. Tenkozi also being in here. Hiroyoshi Tenzan and Satoshi Kojima. Bread Club, shout out. Yuji Nagata and Tiger Mask. Hiroki Goto and Yoshi-Hashi. Tetsuya Naito cleared for competition, making a comeback versus Sanada. The Dangerous Tekkers team of Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. Minoru Suzuki and Taka Michinoku making his return after that little scandal-andal. Rumor going around is that the locker room isn't necessarily thrilled to see him back. Apparently he's a pain in the ass. United Empire is going to have their team in here. Great Okan versus Aaron Hanare. Gorillas of Destiny, of course. Evil and Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Beam, are going to be a team. And Bad Luck Fale versus Chase Owens. That is about the extent of it. I don't like... Look, the tag division in New Japan is an afterthought. It's stale as hell. Talk about how WWE's tag team division is nothing. Well, it's the same thing in New Japan. So I can get excited about World Tag League. I said, and this is the one thing that shocks me. I was convinced that Aussie Open, who fantastic British, well, they're working in Britain right now in Rev Pro, but a fantastic tag team from Australia, of course, who were included as members of the United Empire. I was sure they were going to show up for World Tag League. They're not there. That would have been my impetus to get even remotely interested in World Tag League this year, but I'm not. World Tag League, there'll probably be some very good matches, but it's the tag division. It sucks. Thank you for sticking around, everyone. Not done yet. Not done yet. We're still going to talk about WWE. That was the topic that was voted on for me to end last here. But just before I do talk about WWE, Jay White's contract status. There's been a lot of talk over the past week that somehow Jay White's contract is going to be up soon, right? And then, oh, no, it's not going to be up. Like, there's a lot of stuff going around. Did an interview with Fightful, Sean Ross Sapp, where he was very cagey about the details, despite the fact that Fightful reported on his contract. There's reports out there saying that there's reports saying that he signed a long-term contract, and I remember, look, last year in 2019, these same types of reports were going around. People were like, Jay White's time with the company is up. No, he signed a 7-year contract in 2018, so he's good for a while still. Now suddenly it's a 5-year deal, but now no one knows when the start date was. Oi, I know when I'm getting worked. Okay, I know when I'm getting worked. And we're getting worked right now, and it's fine. I'm not mad. I just, I'm seeing all of this going around. I'm like, and then suddenly the end of the year's coming up. Look, and let's just think about it. Just think back. Not even a year ago, in January, there were rumors that he was going to show up at the Royal Rumble. You remember at New Year's Dash, where he left the match and was like, "I'm done with this company." He had these very weird, post-match comments where he's like, "I'm done," and he disappeared for months. And people were like, he's going to show up at the Royal Rumble. If you follow New Japan, I hope you remember that. And I think even if you weren't following New Japan, if you were a WWE fan watching the Royal Rumble, you were like, oh, Jay White, oh, Jay White, Jay White. That was a whole meme. He didn't show up. Of course he didn't show up. And then when he did come back to New Japan, when he did wrestle again, we were all sort of disappointed that New Japan didn't lean into the fact that he was disgruntled anymore, People are like, he's just back, and he's back. And I agree, there could have been a little something there. I don't know. Look, I know when I'm getting worked, and we're getting worked right now. By whom? Yeah. Probably Jay White himself. He doesn't care. He's a heel on top of that. And he's the kind of guy who really works. He works that fine line between reality and fiction. He'll tell you stuff, but maybe it's not exactly the truth. And that's fine. That's what a wrestler does. Don't have a big deal with it. But I'll tell you one thing. There's one thing for sure. New Japan has unquestionably learned their lesson in regards to the Gaijin exodus, right? When fucking Kenny Omega and the Bucks and all essentially the Ring of Honor talent, everyone that turned into AEW, right? When they all left, I'll tell you one thing, they learned their lesson. They're not putting the straps, they're not putting titles on anyone who doesn't commit to long-term contracts. Will Ospreay is reported to have signed a 5-year contract, reported, right? And he gets the belt, right? He gets the title strapped on him. Jay White right now, he's the never openweight champion. What's next for him? I mean, look, he could, whatever happens, right? You ask me, Jay White is a made man in New Japan. His career is set there. He isn't even 30 yet, right? Hey, Google, how old is Jay White?
29 years old.
He's about to be 30. So if he's still got years ahead of him, regardless of where he goes, but even years for New Japan. And even if he does go somewhere else, which is plausible, because it happens. We've seen it happen with New Japan talent that decide to go wrestle in other promotions. Even if he could end up in Noah for all we know. Maybe he likes wrestling in Japan. And Noah, a place like Pro Wrestling Noah would welcome him with open arms. And maybe he would come to AEW or, God forbid, WWE. But, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure wherever he does end up, he's not going to be welcomed. He's not going to be treated as well or as... Hang on. Let me say that again. He won't be treated as big of a star as he is in New Japan. In New Japan, he is a main event guy. He's cracked the ceiling. He's at the top there. Look at last year, Wrestle Kingdom. He inserted himself. They put him into the main event of night one. That's just how it is. Now, maybe he wants to do other stuff. I don't know. That's up to him. But as far as, the Jay White contract stuff goes, I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into an annual thing until it actually becomes real. Because there were all these rumors, all this information that was put out last end of 2019 and into January. Oh, his contract is up, but it's not up, but it is. We're doing the exact same thing. The exact same thing. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, I'll place a bet on whether Jay's contract is up. Okay, what kind of bet? What's the bet? What kind of bet would you like to put on this? 10 Canadian rubber bucks? Gonna wrap this up by talking about WWE. Just to wrap this up. I have one thing to talk about in regards to WWE. Just this one thing. And it's the main event from this Monday night on Raw. I'm sitting watching Raw. Main event starts. Like the main event, the presentations, the intros start. It's like 10:30, 10:35 Eastern, right? When it starts. And I'm like, oh, hell. We're going long. We're getting time in here. Sweet. Cool. Get into it. And just to refresh, right? Just to refresh. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins was the main event. And the match starts and it goes and I'm into it. And I like it. Two world-class professional wrestlers, given time, given wiggle room to do what they want, and the guys are going hard. They're going way too hard, if you ask me, for a match that has no stakes, that has nothing to it, right? And I'm into it. And I'm sitting down watching this. And I'm like, ooh, and I'm reacting. And I'm going, yes. And you know what happens? I forget I'm watching a WWE show because I'm into the match, because I'm excited about it. And that's to the credit of the dudes who are wrestling there. They made me forget, as I'm watching them go, that I am in the world of dumbass, poorly booked finishes. Because when the dumbass, poorly booked finish occurs, my bubble bursts, I get deflated, and I get mad. And it's not even It's an aggravation that comes from having a non-finish, having a great match, a really legitimately good, solid main event television match that is even going above and beyond what they should be doing. Having that happen and getting the wind taken out of the sails like that. I shrug. I'm like, it's my fault. It's my fault. I let my guard down. I forgot that this was WWE. Why could we have not gotten a satisfactory conclusion to this match? Because it wasn't satisfactory. It wasn't. And I got all the arguments, and I was expecting them all. If both guys are protected, if you can't have one of the two performers lose a match because you need to protect them both, don't book the match. That's basic shit. You can't protect. If you protect everyone, no one gets over. There's no resolution to the match. Nothing. Everything that you just watched was for naught. Because everything we just watched was for naught. Well, no, Warren, it wasn't for naught because it made Kevin Owens do a heel turn. You could have had Kevin Owens do a heel turn even if you got a sincere loss, like a real resolution, a true to form pinfall loss, for instance. You could have. You really, really could have. And you know what? It would have fueled the heel turn even more. It would have made even more sense. Imagine Kevin Owens loses the match. He's pissed off in the ring. Maybe Big E comes in to console him and Kevin snaps. Or maybe Big E doesn't console him. He's like, well, what are you going to do? And then he snaps. Like, none of this needed to happen in the way it did. Then it's like, oh, this is how it happened. So then people get get tunnel vision. It's like, well, what would you have done, Warren? I wouldn't have booked the match in the first place. And if I'm going to book the match, one of the two guys is going to lose. He's going to lose proper because this match is too good. Too much investment, too much energy. And this is something that I've talked about for years at this point. WWE doesn't reward you as a viewer to watch their programming. It doesn't give back. It will take, and it will tell you, oh, no, you're not reacting the way we want you to. You're not saying nice things. Complaining isn't conversation. They'll chide you. Instead of doing the easy thing and just giving you compelling reasons to watch, getting invested. I would have been pissed. Look, I was pissed off that Owens lost. But Seth pins Kevin Owens makes sense in the story. I would have been disappointed because I love Kevin Owens, one of my favorites. But then he gets the heel turn. You're like, all this makes sense now. Now it's just like, this is all bullshit. This is all bullshit because the last 20 minutes that I watched these guys wrestle was for nothing. We didn't get a proper resolution. It didn't come to a conclusion. It's just like, well, we spilled the milk. We're serving you a nice tall glass of milk. We knocked it over. And it's frustrating. Because you know what? I was excited to when I was I wrote it in my notes. As I was watching the match, I was like, I am excited. I put a note to say I'm excited to talk about something really good on WWE on the podcast. I'm excited. Then the match, the finale happens. I'm like, none of this mattered. None of it mattered. Why was I invested in the match if the conclusion is this? And it was such a stupid bump. Big E is accidentally in the way and he bumps into him. Oh, it's all an accident. It's a big misunderstanding. It's so stupid. And because it looks contrived. Nothing organic about it. They try too hard. And this is what ends up happening. Here's some pro wrestling, Warren. We like you. We know you like pro wrestling. Here's some pro wrestling. And then Vince and Bruce arrive. They start fucking around with it. And then I'm like, One thing that WWE is doing really, really well, it's the Naomi-Sonya Deville feud, which honestly, right now, is their best booked feud on the entire roster. Right now. Taking their time. It's smart. It's interesting. Little story beats. The story advances week after week. There's a little something more, little something more, little something more. That's good. As for the rest, oh boy. Oh boy. Anyway, that was the weekly wrestling inspection. Well, there you have it, folks. Another big podcast is out of the way. We just done that. But hey, you know what? If you want to continue talking about professional wrestling with myself and the members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, become a member. You can do it now. Come and join us. In a couple of minutes, I'm starting up a stream where we are going to be talking about AEW Full Gear. I want to hear from you. This is where we sit down and we really have a proper conversation. Not just me screaming into the void and looking over at the chat and saying, hey, you. We actually chit chat. In the Discord, we get Discord calls, Discord chat, live chat here. Come on in. Come talk about Full Gear. Become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, and you can do that right fucking now. But hey, if not, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Hope you have a great weekend on top of that. Have a great Full Gear weekend. If you're going to be watching it, enjoy the show. Otherwise, have a good time, everyone. Thank you for joining me live tonight, everyone. We'll see you next time.